down! Put that baby down! You're fired!
Sir, please read the mother's name.
Harper? That's my daughter.
Put that baby down and get out of my house. Lenora Voss stood in the nursery doorway wearing a silk robe, her face pale with fury. Imani Rowe tightened the blanket around the newborn, trembling against her chest. She couldn't breathe. Her lips were turning blue. I don't care what you think you saw. The baby released a weak cry. Imani gently supported her tiny head, relieved to hear the sound. Footsteps thundered across the marble hallway. Billionaire Darius Voss appeared behind his wife, still dressed in the dark suit he had worn on his overnight flight from London. He stopped when he saw his black maid holding a newborn inside a nursery that had supposedly been locked for 12 years. Whose baby is that? Lenora moved quickly between him and Imani. She broke into this room and brought that child into our home. I've already fired her. Darius looked at the newborn's wrist. A hospital band was partly hidden beneath the blanket. He stepped closer and read the mother's name. His expression changed completely. Mother, Harper Voss. Darius lifted his eyes toward his wife. Harper is my daughter. Before we continue, subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Because Darius had been told his daughter was safely studying in Europe, but the newborn in Imani's arms was about to prove that someone inside his mansion had been lying to him for months. 6 hours earlier, rain hammered the windows of the Voss estate. Imani was finishing the night shift alone. At 32, she had worked in the mansion for 14 months, long enough to understand which doors staff were permitted to open and which family secrets they were expected to ignore. She needed the job, but she had never allowed it to erase her dignity. Before becoming a housekeeper, Imani had spent 4 years working at a women's shelter. Funding cuts closed it, leaving her unemployed and responsible for her widowed father's mounting care expenses. She knew frightened women. She also knew the cry of a newborn in distress. At 3:17 a.m., while carrying fresh towels past the east wing, Imani heard a faint sound behind the old nursery door. The room had remained locked since Darius's first wife died. No employee was permitted to enter it. Imani stopped and listened. Nothing. Then it came again. A baby's broken cry. She tried the handle. Locked. Is someone in there? The crying suddenly stopped. Imani's pulse quickened. She hurried to the security desk, but the overnight guard was missing. His radio remained beside an untouched cup of coffee. When she returned, a shadow moved beneath the nursery door. Imani knocked harder. Mrs. Voss. A woman whispered from inside. Please go away. It was Lenora. Imani stepped back in confusion. Lenora had told the household she was attending a charity retreat until morning. Then the baby began choking. Imani recognized the frightening silence between failed breaths. She struck the door with her shoulder. It didn't move. On the third attempt, the old lock splintered. The nursery lights were dim. An open leather bag sat on the floor beside stacks of cash, infant formula, and a one-way train ticket. Lenora stood near the window. A man in a grey coat was climbing through the rear garden door. Between them was a portable bassinet. The newborn inside it struggled to breathe. Imani rushed forward. Don't touch her. Lenora ordered. Imani ignored her. She lifted the baby, turned her carefully and cleared milk from her mouth. After several terrifying seconds, the child gasped. Her cry filled the room. The man in the grey coat disappeared into the rain. Lenora grabbed Imani's arm. You had no right to come in here. She needs a doctor. She needs to leave this house before sunrise. Imani stared at her. Why? Lenora's fingers tightened. Because I said so. Imani noticed a sealed envelope inside the bassinet. Written across it were the words, Private Placement Agreement. This wasn't an adoption arranged through a court or an agency. Lenora had planned to hand the newborn to a stranger carrying cash and a train ticket. Imani moved away from her. I'm calling Mr. Voss. Lenora slapped the phone from her hand. You will do no such thing. She could have died. And you will lose your father's care home by tomorrow if you interfere. Imani froze. Lenora knew exactly where her father lived. She had personally approved the payroll deduction that covered part of his monthly expenses. You would punish an innocent man? I protect my family from people who forget their place. Imani looked down at the newborn. The baby's fist had closed around her finger. Who is her mother? Lenora didn't answer. Instead, she opened the nursery door and shouted for security. That was when Darius arrived home 12 hours early. His flight had been rerouted by the storm. He entered the mansion expecting silence and found his wife ordering 2 guards to drag Imani away while the baby cried against her chest. Now Darius stood beneath the nursery chandelier, staring at the name on the hospital band. "Where is Harper?" he asked. Lenora forced a confused expression. "In Switzerland. You spoke to her last week." "No. I received a text from her. She hates phone calls." Darius looked at Imani. "Tell me exactly what happened." Lenora stepped forward. "You're going to believe a maid over your wife. I'm going to believe whoever explains why my daughter's name is attached to this baby." Imani swallowed. "Sir, Harper called the mansion 3 nights ago." Darius went still. "She called here?" I answered. "She was crying and asking for you. Mrs. Voss took the phone from me." Darius slowly turned toward Lenora. "What did you tell her?" Lenora's face lost its color. Imani remembered every word. "She told Harper that you knew about the pregnancy," Imani said, "and that you never wanted to see her, or her baby, again." A phone began ringing inside Lenora's leather bag. Darius reached down and removed it. The screen displayed a live video from an unknown number. Harper was sitting inside a moving car, her hands bound, staring desperately into the camera. Then a man's voice spoke. "You found the baby. Now decide whether you want the mother back alive." The man's voice came through Lenora's phone again. "Bring the newborn and the original placement agreement to North Pier Warehouse 17. You have 90 minutes. Darius stared at the screen, where his daughter sat bound inside the moving vehicle. "If you hurt Harper, you are wasting time, Mr. Voss." The video ended. For several seconds, the nursery was silent except for the baby's soft cries. Imani held the newborn closer while Darius turned toward his wife. "Who was that?" Lenora shook her head. "I don't know. You had their live video on your phone. They contacted me because Harper listed this house as her address. You expect me to believe kidnappers accidentally called the woman trying to give my granddaughter to a stranger?" Lenora glanced toward the security guards. "Send the staff away, and I'll explain." "No. You'll explain in front of the woman you just threatened for saving that child's life." Imani noticed the overnight guards exchanging uncertain looks. They had worked for Lenora longer than they had worked for Darius. She didn't know which of them could be trusted. Darius appeared to realize the same thing. "Everyone out," he ordered. "Imani stays." The guards hesitated. Darius's voice hardened. "Now." After they left, he locked the nursery door and called Malcolm Reed, the former federal investigator who supervised security for Voss Global. He ordered Malcolm to come through the private entrance without alerting the household team. Lenora watched him finish the call. "You're going to get Harper killed." "No. The person who arranged this is going to get her killed. I was trying to protect her. By selling her baby." "It wasn't a sale." Lenora snatched the placement agreement from the bassinet and unfolded it. "Harper agreed to a private adoption. She came home pregnant, terrified and ashamed. She begged me to handle everything without telling you." Darius held out his hand. Lenora reluctantly gave him the document. His eyes moved across the pages until he reached the signature. "This isn't Harper's. You haven't lived with her in 6 years. You don't know how she signs her name anymore. I know my daughter. She believed you would disown her. Because you told her I already had." Lenora's mouth tightened. Imani stepped closer. "Why was the baby being removed through a garden door at 3 in the morning?" "For privacy. A legal adoption doesn't happen with cash and a train ticket." Lenora looked at her with open hatred. "You worked at a shelter, not a law firm." "No," Imani replied. "But I saw men like the one who escaped this room." Darius turned toward her. "You recognized him?" I couldn't see his full face, but I recognized the grey coat. It has a stitched blackbird beneath the collar. Lenora's expression shifted. Imani noticed. His name is Silas Crowe, she continued. He used to approach pregnant women outside the shelter. He offered money, private housing, and adoption arrangements that supposedly required no court hearings. What happened to the women? Darius asked. Most refused. One accepted. Imani remembered a 19-year-old named Keisha standing beneath the shelter's flickering entrance light. She had been 7 months pregnant and convinced that Silas had found a wealthy family who would support her and allow contact with her child. She disappeared before giving birth, Imani said. 6 months later, the police found her identification in an abandoned apartment. They never found her or the baby. Darius looked at Lenora. You knew Silas Crowe. I've never heard that name. Then why did you react when she said it? I reacted because this woman is accusing me of kidnapping. Imani adjusted the newborn's blanket. The baby's hospital band bore not only Harper's name but a registration number and the initials BHC. Do you recognize this hospital? She asked Darius. He studied the initials. No. Lenora answered too quickly. Brighton Health Center. Darius looked at her. How did you know that? She fell silent. Malcolm arrived 12 minutes later, entering through the concealed door behind the library. He was 60, silver-haired and calm, with the careful movements of a man who never entered a room without mapping every exit. He examined Lenora's phone, the placement agreement and the cash-filled bag. This phone contains encrypted messaging software, he said. The caller probably expected Mrs. Voss to be alone. Can you track the vehicle? Darius asked. Not from the video, but we can study the background. He replayed the final seconds. Beyond Harper's shoulder, a rhythmic metallic bell sounded 3 times. A few seconds later came the low roar of an aircraft. North Pier is beneath the eastern flight path, Malcolm said. The sound could be genuine, or they could be using recorded noise to make us believe she's there. We can't wait, Darius said. We won't. I'll send a team to the warehouse, but quietly. No police, Lenora warned. Malcolm looked at her. Kidnappers always say that. People assisting kidnappers repeat it. Lenora stepped toward Darius. If Harper signed those papers willingly, and you send armed men, this could become a tragedy. Darius held up the forged agreement. My daughter is tied inside a car. Nothing about this is willing. The newborn began crying harder. Imani rocked her gently, but the child turned her face repeatedly, searching for milk. She needs to be fed, Imani said. And examined by a doctor. No hospitals, Lenora replied immediately. Darius's eyes narrowed. Why? If they're watching medical admissions, they'll know we involved authorities. Imani searched the bassinet and found prepared formula. The label had been removed from the container. She smelled it, then froze. This has something mixed into it. Malcolm took the bottle from her. A chalky substance clung to the bottom. Lenora stepped backward. Darius looked at her with disgust. Were you planning to drug the baby? It was a mild sedative. Silas said it would keep her calm during the journey. She's less than a week old. I didn't prepare it. But you were going to let her drink it. The newborn's cries weakened again. Imani checked her breathing and felt warmth spreading through the blanket. She has a fever. Darius took out his phone. I'm calling an ambulance. Lenora grabbed his wrist. You can't. He pulled away. Touch me again, and Malcolm will restrain you. Lenora's polished confidence began to fracture. You don't understand what Harper has done. What has she done? She had a child with a man who was investigating your company. Darius went still. Lenora continued before he could interrupt. His name is Noah Hale. He worked as a financial reporter. Harper met him while pretending to study in Geneva. He convinced her that money was disappearing from the Voss family trust. Was it? Lenora said nothing. Malcolm opened the leather bag and emptied its contents onto a table. Beneath the cash was a red electronic access card marked Voss Legacy Trust, Private Records. Darius picked it up. You told me this card was lost. I thought it was. It was in your bag. Malcolm examined the placement agreement more carefully. This isn't only an adoption form, he said. Page 8 transfers temporary financial guardianship of the child. Darius read the clause. His father's trust had been designed decades earlier. The first biological child born to Darius's direct line would immediately inherit 15% of the family's voting shares. Until the child turned 18, those shares would be controlled by the legal guardian. Harper was the baby's natural guardian, unless she was declared missing, dead, or unfit. Darius looked at Lenora. You weren't trying to hide a scandal. You were trying to control my granddaughter's shares. Lenora's eyes filled with tears, but they carried no warmth. I protected this family while Harper ran around with a reporter determined to destroy us. Where is Noah? I don't know. Is he alive? Lenora looked away. Malcolm's phone rang. He answered, listened briefly and handed it to Darius. The head of the family trust office was on the line. Mr. Voss, I'm sorry to contact you at this hour, but our system flagged an emergency guardianship petition. Darius stared at his wife. Whose petition? One filed by Lenora Voss. It requests immediate guardianship of Harper Voss's newborn daughter. On what grounds? There was a pause. The petition says Harper is deceased. Imani felt the baby stiffen in her arms. Darius's voice dropped. My daughter was alive on a video less than 15 minutes ago. The application includes a certified death record, the attorney said. It was submitted 20 minutes ago. Malcolm rapidly opened a laptop and accessed the trust portal. A scanned certificate appeared on the screen. Harper Elise Voss. Time of death, 2:40 a.m. cause, postpartum cardiac failure. Imani looked at the clock. It was only 3:51 a.m. The certificate claimed Harper had died more than an hour ago, while she had just been seen alive. Darius turned toward Lenora, but she was no longer beside the nursery door. The window stood open. Rain blew across the carpet. Lenora was gone. Then Imani looked down and saw a message appearing on the electronic monitor hidden beneath the baby's bassinet. The mother for the child. Come alone, or the death certificate becomes real. Imani read the message twice. The mother for the child. Come alone, or the death certificate becomes real. Darius reached for the monitor, but Malcolm stopped him. Don't touch it. The device may preserve information we can trace. My daughter has less than 90 minutes. And rushing into their trap could cost both Harper and the baby. The newborn shivered in Imani's arms. Her breathing was becoming shallow, and the fever had risen. She needs medical attention now, Imani said. Darius looked at his granddaughter, then toward the open window through which Lenora had escaped. Call Dr. Anika Shah, he told Malcolm. Bring her through the private entrance with neonatal equipment. No hospital registration yet. Imani studied him carefully. You're still protecting the family name? No, Darius replied. I'm protecting the baby from whoever has access to hospital systems and forged Harper's death certificate. For the first time since his arrival, Imani heard no authority in his voice, only fear. Malcolm contacted a trusted federal agent while Darius carried the baby's portable bassinet into his locked study. Imani remained beside the child until Dr. Shah arrived. The doctor discovered that the formula contained a sedative powerful enough to suppress a newborn's breathing. Fortunately, Imani had intervened before the baby swallowed much of it. She'll recover, Dr. Shah said. But another dose could have killed her. Darius looked toward Imani. You saved her twice tonight. Imani gently touched the baby's tiny hand. Then let's make sure she has a mother to return to. Malcolm entered carrying Lenora's electronic monitor inside an evidence pouch. The message bounced through several networks, but the device briefly connected to a transmitter near North Pier. Warehouse 17 is active. Then we go there, Darius said. With a decoy, Malcolm replied. We do not take the baby. They placed weighted blankets inside the portable bassinet and fitted its handle with a tracker and microphone. Dr. Shah remained with the newborn inside the study while 2 federal agents guarded every entrance. Imani removed her maid's apron. I'm coming with you. No, Darius said immediately. I recognized Silas. He may talk to me when he won't talk to you. This isn't your responsibility. Lenora threatened my father and tried to fire me for saving your granddaughter. She made it my responsibility. Malcolm looked at Darius. She also knows Silas's methods. Darius reluctantly nodded. Before leaving, Imani examined the private placement agreement again. A small symbol appeared beside the agency signature, a blackbird surrounded by 3 broken lines. She had seen that mark before. At the women's shelter, Keisha, the pregnant girl who disappeared, had drawn the same symbol on a napkin the night before leaving with Silas. What did it mean? Malcolm asked. I thought it was decoration. Maybe it marked one of their locations. She slipped a photograph of the symbol into her pocket. North Pier stood beneath a sky bruised with storm clouds. Shipping containers formed dark corridors along the water, while abandoned cranes creaked in the wind. Warehouse 17 appeared empty. Darius carried the decoy bassinet. Imani walked several steps behind him, wearing a dark coat over her uniform. Malcolm and the federal team remained hidden beyond the shipping yard. A light switched on inside the warehouse. Silas Crow stepped from behind a stack of wooden crates. He was tall, narrow-faced and still wearing the grey coat with the blackbird stitched beneath its collar. Lenora emerged beside him. Her silk robe had been replaced by dark trousers and a raincoat. Her expression was controlled again. You brought the maid, she asked. I brought the person who kept your plan from becoming murder, Darius answered. Where is the original agreement? In my coat. And the baby? Darius raised the bassinet slightly. Lenora's eyes fixed on it. Put her on the floor and step back. Show me Harper. Silas lifted a tablet. Live video appeared on the screen. Harper was now lying on the floor of a metal compartment, breathing but barely conscious. First the child, Silas said. Imani listened carefully. Behind Harper came the same 3 metallic bells they had heard earlier. This time, however, another sound followed, a deep vibration and rushing water. She looked across the pier toward an abandoned ferry anchored beyond the warehouses. Its faded name was barely visible through the rain. Bellwether. The same 3 broken lines from Silas's symbol resembled waves beneath a bird. Harper wasn't inside the warehouse. She was on the ferry. Imani reached into her pocket and pressed the silent alert button Malcolm had given her. Darius slowly lowered the bassinet. Silas moved toward it. Open the cover, Lenora ordered. Darius didn't move. Silas bent down and pulled the blanket aside. The bassinet contained no baby. His face contorted. It's a decoy. The warehouse lights suddenly blazed on. Federal agents entered from both sides. Silas overturned the bassinet and ran between the crates. Lenora rushed toward a side door. Darius followed her. Imani saw Silas climb onto an old loading platform above them. He released the brake on a suspended cargo pallet. Move, she screamed. The heavy pallet swung toward Darius. Imani grabbed his coat and pulled him behind a steel support as the load crashed onto the floor, splintering wooden crates. Silas reached the rear exit, but Malcolm intercepted him. They struggled briefly before 2 agents forced Silas to the ground and restrained him. Lenora disappeared through the side door. Darius started after her, but Imani stopped him. Harper isn't here. She's on the Bellwether ferry. They ran toward the dock with Malcolm and 4 agents. The ferry had been abandoned for 8 years, its windows boarded and its lower deck rusted by salt water. As they crossed the unstable boarding ramp, the 3 bells sounded again. Imani realized they came from loose signal buoys striking the ferry's hull. The interior smelled of fuel and damp metal. They followed Harper's faint cries below deck until they reached an old medical cabin secured by an industrial lock. Malcolm broke it open. Harper lay on the floor exactly as she had appeared on the video. Her wrists were bound, and her face was bruised, but she was alive. Darius dropped beside her. Harper. Her eyes opened slowly. Dad. He gathered her into his arms. I'm here. Your baby is safe. Harper began sobbing against his shoulder. She told me you hated me. She said you would take my child and send me away. I never knew, sweetheart, sweetheart. I swear to you, I never knew. Imani knelt beside them and loosened the restraints. Harper, where is the baby's father? Fear replaced relief on Harper's face. Noah tried to expose Lenora. Silas took him before they took me. Is he on this ferry? Malcolm asked. Harper shook her head. I heard them say they were moving him to the old Voss printing plant. Darius froze. The printing plant contained industrial shredders once used to destroy defective financial documents. It had closed 5 years earlier and stood almost 40 miles away. Malcolm called the second federal team. No response. Then his phone displayed an emergency alert. The officers guarding the Voss mansion had been attacked by 2 members of the household security staff. Dr. Shah was safe, but the newborn was missing. Darius stared at the message. No. Harper tried to stand. My baby. Before anyone could answer, Lenora called Darius's phone. He put it on speaker. A baby cried in the background. You rescued Harper, Lenora said. Congratulations. Don't hurt that child. I don't need to hurt her. I only need to become her legal guardian before the trust office opens. The guardianship is built on forged documents. Documents become truth when the only witnesses disappear. Where are you? Lenora laughed softly. Ask Harper what Noah found beneath the printing plant. The call ended. Harper gripped her father's arm. There's a sealed records vault under the factory, she said. Noah found proof that Lenora had been selling access to the family trust for years. Imani looked at the clock. It was 5:08 a.m. The trust office opened at 6. They had 52 minutes to rescue the newborn and Noah, recover the evidence, and stop Lenora from legally taking control of the child's inheritance. Then Malcolm received a photograph. Noah was tied to a chair inside the printing plant's underground vault. Beside him stood Lenora, holding the newborn. And directly behind them, one of the industrial shredders had begun to move. At 5:16 a.m., Darius, Imani, Harper, and Malcolm raced toward the abandoned Voss printing plant. Harper was weak, but she refused to remain behind. My daughter is there, she said. I'm coming. The factory appeared through the rain like a dark metal fortress. Inside, old machines groaned to life one after another. Lenora wasn't only threatening Noah, she was destroying the financial records stored beneath the plant. Malcolm's agents surrounded the building while Darius led them through a maintenance entrance known only to senior Voss executives. In the basement, shredded documents poured from an industrial machine. Noah sat tied to a chair beside the records vault, his face bruised but his eyes alert. Lenora stood several feet away, holding the newborn against her chest. Stop the machines, Darius ordered. Lenora smiled. Give me the trust card and sign the guardianship approval. You kidnapped my daughter and granddaughter. You have nothing left to negotiate with. I have the only witness who can connect me to the missing money. She looked at Noah. And I have the child who controls 15% of your company. Harper stepped forward. That child has a name. Her name is Maya, and she is not one of your assets. The newborn reacted to her mother's voice, crying and turning her tiny face toward Harper. Lenora tightened her hold. Come closer, and I leave with her. Imani noticed a maintenance panel behind Darius. At the shelter, she had learned that frightened people survived by observing what powerful people ignored: exits, switches, and changes in tone. She looked at Darius, then briefly toward the panel. He understood. Imani stepped into the open. You blamed me for ruining everything, she told Lenora. Let me correct it. She held up the forged placement agreement. I'll sign as the witness. You can say Harper surrendered the baby willingly. Harper stared at her, but Imani gave the smallest shake of her head. Lenora hesitated. You would help me. I need my job. My father needs his care home. You already proved you can take both away. Lenora's arrogance returned. Bring me the agreement. Imani approached slowly. Behind her, Darius reached the maintenance panel and pulled the emergency shutdown lever. The shredders stopped. The basement fell silent. Lenora spun toward him. Imani seized the moment, taking Maya safely from her arms. Harper rushed forward, and Imani placed the crying newborn against her mother's chest. Lenora ran toward the records vault, but Malcolm blocked the doorway. "It's over," he said. "No, it isn't." Lenora grabbed a metal case from the vault and attempted to throw it into the shredder. Noah kicked the case away before she could reach the machine. The lid opened. Hundreds of payment receipts, trust transfers, and private placement contracts scattered across the floor. Federal agents entered from both corridors. Lenora stared at the evidence surrounding her. Then she looked at Darius. "I protected your empire. You tried to steal it from my daughter." Agents restrained Lenora and freed Noah. Harper dropped beside him while holding Maya. "You're alive," she whispered. "So are you," Noah replied, pressing his forehead gently against hers. At 5:47 a.m., Malcolm sent photographs of the recovered documents and Harper's live identification to the trust office. At 5:59, 1 minute before the emergency petition could take effect, the guardianship request was rejected and referred to federal investigators. Silas Crowe confessed after learning the records had survived. His testimony exposed an illegal adoption network that had targeted vulnerable pregnant women for years. Lenora was charged with kidnapping, conspiracy, fraud, attempted theft, unlawful guardianship manipulation, and endangering a newborn. The household guards who helped her were arrested as well. The forged death certificate was cancelled, and Harper's legal identity was restored. Darius filed for divorce that same morning. But the hardest truth was personal. He had allowed carefully written text messages to replace real conversations with his daughter. Lenora had exploited that distance, but Darius understood he had helped create it. "I should have called," he told Harper. "I should have come looking for you." Harper held Maya close. "Then don't make the same mistake with her." "I won't." Weeks later, Harper and Noah moved into a quiet home near the estate while they rebuilt their lives. Darius didn't try to control them with money. He listened, apologized, and waited for trust to return naturally. Imani was offered her housekeeping position back with a large raise. She declined. Instead, Darius restored funding to the women's shelter where she had once worked and asked her to lead a new protection program for mothers facing coercive adoptions. This time, Imani accepted. On the program's opening day, Harper arrived carrying Maya. The baby reached toward Imani, recognizing the woman whose arms had first made her feel safe. "You didn't just hold my daughter," Harper said. "You held our whole family together." Imani smiled. "No. I simply refused to put her down when someone ordered me to." Sometimes courage begins with one quiet refusal. Lenora saw a maid she could threaten and a newborn she could use. She never imagined that the woman she considered powerless would be the one who saved them all. If this story touched you, like, subscribe and share it, and tell us in the comments, would you have risked your job to protect Maya?